I will be presenting to you our comms plan for Event 1. I'll start off with the introduction of the event, followed by the flow of events for the communication plans, and our group members will bring you through the written as well as the oral correspondences. So the description of the event, it will be a gala dinner. Okay, our school, Vanda Institution, is actually a sports school. We have a niche in sports. So this year is also our year, which is a 10th year anniversary. So we are also holding this gala dinner to celebrate our 10th anniversary. But most importantly, this year our B and C division boys, our football boys, actually achieved their first ever goal at the ASEAN Football Junior Tournament this year in May. So we are holding this gala dinner to celebrate our achievement. This is also our school's first ever gold medal in a regional tournament. These are the details of our event. Okay, it will be held on 1st December 2018 from 6 p.m. and it will last for 3 hours. Okay, our guest of honor will be Mr. Fandi Ahmad as well as Mr. Kwa Cheng Wen. Mr. Fandi Ahmad is the recently appointed new head coach of the Singapore national football team, and Mr. Kwa Cheng Wen, as most of you know, is a very prominent and he has achieved very good results in the regional swimming competitions. And these are the proposed attendees, all teaching staff, all students, as well as the parents of the award winners. Now I'll bring you through the flow of events. First, we will start off with the proposal to the principal and VP. We will send our proposal to them via email for them to approve. So once they have given their approval, we will now concurrently send our correspondences to the rest of the stakeholders, such as our guests of honor, okay, our vendors, the hotel vendors, as well as the alumni and PSG for funding support. Following which, we will start to engage the teaching staff via staff contact time. We will brief them about the event, what to take note of, and as well as any duties that we need the teachers to hold during the event. After the briefing by the teachers, we will now conduct the briefing for the students via assembly. So we will have our committee of teachers, we will select one of us to present or brief the students on the event so that they know what exactly they are supposed to do. And after assembly, we will get the class chair to get the parents' consent form to bring home to the parents, let them know what is the event about, and to get their approval for to attend the event. For the parents as well, the parents of the award attendees will also give them send an invitation to them via an email. Okay, and following which, last stage of our communication plan will be for the student counsellors. We will brief them. We have one of our logistics teacher IC to brief them face to face so that they know what duties they have on the actual day itself, be it ushering or to guide the alumni to be seated as well. So I'll pass the time to Xiaoyi for the written correspondence.
Okay, so I'll be doing a written correspondence one, which is Vanda Institution's principal's letter to the parents. So firstly, I'll go by the PAC format. So start off for purpose is to comment. That means to affirm the achievements of the students. So like what Chikai says, because it's the school's first gold medal at an ASEAN regional sports tournament. Then is to inform so that parents are aware and also inform of Vanda Institution's 10th anniversary gala event. And last but not least, to seek consent so parents will allow their children to attend the gala event. Okay, so I've screenshot the letter itself. So right at the start, the title of the letter is Vanda Institution's 10th year anniversary gala event. So that itself already informed the parents about it. And also at the first sentence, which is the institution will host a gala event. And then to seek consent, over here it says you would be happy if you can indicate your child's attendance for the gala event by this date. Okay, audience-wise, so we need to take note of the audience interests, beliefs, and attitudes. So firstly, they are parents of students in Vanda Institution, and they have interest in the school events, what the school is doing, the happenings in the school, and also their children's welfare. And parents' knowledge, so they would not know the logistical details of the event, so the letter is meant to do so. And parents might not be aware that such events might require them to pay because not all school events need to be paid. And the methods to do so as well. So, for example, in the letter itself, the logistical event details are all here. So we have the date, time, venue, guest of honor, dress code, and the fee that they have to pay. And then, so they care about their children's welfare, right? So we did talk about the transport. So like no transport will be provided, but then they will be briefed on how to make their way there. So the venue itself is Hilltop Hotel. So they will be briefed on how to make their way there. And then that briefing notes will be handed to the child, and then the child will give it to the parents. So strategy-wise, medium of communication is a hard copy letter accompanied by consent form. And students will be briefed about the gala event during assembly, and after which teachers will hand out the consent form and the letter. So further details or clarification, they can contact vice principal or the child's form teacher. Content-wise is to highlight purpose of event, brief on logistical details, inform on appropriate dress code, inform parents on deadlines for consent form and payment, and also on the available methods for payment. So for example, in the letter itself, so it says, should you have any queries, you can contact the vice principal at his email or the child's form teacher. And then for payment-wise, it can be gyro, or if it's check or cash, like made payable to vendor institution itself. And when to make the payment by, which is 9th November 2018. Language and tone. So because this will be addressed to parents that are important stakeholders of the school, it will be formal, professional, and also polite. So not too officials. And then the sentence should be short and sweet. Yeah. Okay, so for example, like all of the teaching staff, parents of awardees, and students from institution are invited to the event. So in that sentence itself, the parents will know who will be invited to the event. Context-wise, so the principal's previous interactions with the audience that are the parents, low frequency, so usually only at school functions or school events, and even then it's to the masses. Position, so principal is the representative of the school, so of course her tone has to be formal, has to be professional, because she represents the school. Time pressure, there's limited time because this consent form and letter will be issued out in November, and then before that it has to be confirmed, so they need to order food and whatnot by the end November. Medium-wise is not a face-to-face communication, hence the content has to be clear so that there's no misunderstanding or miscommunication. Yep. So now I'll pass my time to Jinhe.
Okay, good morning everyone. I will be taking you through the second written correspondence, which is an email written to our guest of honor, Mr. Fandi Ahmad. So firstly, we have two purposes here. Number one, which is obviously to invite him, and secondly, a sub-purpose, which is to convince him to want to come for this event. So we'll do this in several ways. So firstly, to tell him about the significance of the event. Number two, to tell him about the benefits of the event. And number three, to tell him that actually your presence for attending the event will be very valued by all of us. So these are some screenshots of what we wrote. So firstly, as mentioned, the purpose is stated early in the email, and we told him essential information of what this event is about, when is it going to happen, and why are we inviting him to attend this event. Secondly, we also mentioned the significance of this event, like briefed earlier by Zhikai. This is a 10th year anniversary of our school, and secondly, this is to celebrate our first ever regional gold medal. Okay, we also mentioned early in the email about the benefits to him. So we mentioned the tangible and intangible benefits. Tangible meaning we'll be presenting to him a plaque, and also we'll be featuring him in our school bulletin. And secondly, we also mentioned the more intangible benefits to him, which is the value that he'll be creating to our students by sharing on his experience. So secondly, this is our audience. As you can recognize, Mr. Fandi Ahmad. So we attempted to build rapport by referring to his background. So he is one of Singapore's most recognized sporting figure, and recently he was actually appointed as Singapore's national team head coach. As such, we wanted to build rapport in accordance to that. So when we wrote to him, we mentioned about his recent appointment as Singapore's national team head coach, and we shared our excitement about this appointment. We brought up our experience as football fans and said that we are very excited by this appointment. And moving on, as we are making him give a speech for our event, we wanted this speech to be genuine to him. As such, we told him that this speech would be something relatable to him, and he could be sharing on his personal experience on how he overcome adversity. And then lastly, for context, we wanted to write with consideration of his background and also what necessary information he would need given his lack of knowledge of the event. So as such, we told him the essential information about this dinner, how many attendees, approximately 500, what are the age groups of the people attending, so secondary 1 to 4 students, and also what do we want to achieve for this speech that we wanted him to give. And also we recognize that the context-wise, he's a very busy person with not a lot of time perhaps to prepare for such an event. As such, we helped him to scope what he could possibly share for the event by telling him our school's core values so that he could possibly scope his speech in accordance to these Vanda values. Next, Kim.
Thank you, Jinha. My name is Kim. I'll be taking you through part 1 of our oral correspondence. So our first oral correspondence will be to students, and here are the purposes of this, or here's the purpose of this oral correspondence. First, because this gala is meant to celebrate their achievements, so we first want to commend and affirm them. Next, they are to be informed of the details of this event, of course. And finally, with students, you have to instruct them. So first, they will be instructed on how to get there via public transport. And second, they have to be instructed on the appropriate attire and conduct that they are supposed to display during the event itself. For the audience, with a huge group of students from Sec 1 to Sec 4, presumably there will be a range of ages, but because Vanda Institution has a niche in sports, it can be expected that these students will have some interest or will have a positive attitude towards this event because it's going to be celebrating their achievements and their peers' achievements. For knowledge, due to a variation in their background, some students might not have prior knowledge of proper etiquette or proper attire, how they're supposed to dress, how their school uniform is supposed to look during the gala. And since the event is going to be held outside of school, they might not know how to get there. For context, the setting will be pretty obvious. It's going to be in the school hall. So this will require AV assistance, so you're going to be speaking into a mic, you're going to need visual aids. And finally, student management. You're going to have a huge group of students in front of you. You're definitely going to need some kind of crowd control and noise management. So you might need to get assistance from form teachers to control their class, especially if your students get quite rowdy or excited during your speech. So here's the strategy. It's going to be an oral briefing during assembly, accompanied by visual aids presentation slides, and any further details can be provided by the form teacher during one of their CCE or homeroom periods. For the content, first will be the purpose of the event, then the brief on the logistics, the instructions on code of conduct. This should be accompanied by your maps or diagrams on how to get there. And finally, students need to be reminded to pass the consent forms to their parents and return it by a stipulated date. For language and tone, this is a little bit tricky. You have to strike a balance. Since it's a celebratory event, you're going to want to have a positive tone, a light-hearted tone because you're celebrating their achievements. But at the same time, when you're instructing them on how to behave, you're going to need some sort of a firm and strict tone. Considerations for visual aids, you're going to want to avoid really wordy slides because you're going to have a huge group of students and may not be able to read everything. So focus on the important details, and the use of pictures or diagrams to supplement what you're saying is really important here. Finally, ensure that the appropriate font or the appropriate font size is chosen so that even people who sit right at the back of the hall will be able to see it. So here are some examples of negative and positive language choices. So if you're going to, when you're introducing the event, you're going to want to have a really upbeat, light-hearted tone. So don't start in a really officious way. Everybody sit down, I don't want to see any phones. And here you see we'll be having a gala which goes straight into the event and doesn't give them any kind of context. Again, this is an example of a negative and appropriate language choice. So avoid picking out students as a negative example or being really condescending in the way you speak. Alright, so next, Shisha will take you through the second form of oral correspondence.
Hi, so I'm Zishan, which I'm sure you have figured out by process of elimination. So anyway, we also have to address the staff. In fact, we have to inform the staff first before telling the students about this as a matter of courtesy, right? Because you don't want the staff to be caught unawares when students ask them questions about the event. Okay, but more than that, the staff is important because you need to solicit their assistance also in helping you to manage the event, manage the student helpers, to produce the video montage, the ushers, so on and so forth. Okay, and finally, the hardest part of this is how do you enthuse the staff and make them feel that this is actually an event that they want to go for because they are having to sacrifice their own personal time to attend this school event, right? It's a non-working day after all. Okay, and you're talking to the staff, so I'm sure you have plenty of experience from your contract teaching to know that the teaching staff, they are overwhelmed with a lot of work, so they are not, am I in the frame? So they are not, they don't have a lot of patience to listen to you go on and on. What they are mainly concerned with is, what do I need to do? What do I need to know for the event? Which students am I in charge of? What exactly do I need to do? Okay, and what time does the event end so that I can go home? Okay, logistical details, is there parking? If I'm driving, how much will it cost? How are the students getting there? If there's a bus, do I need to accompany the students there and back? These are the important details you need to flesh out for them. Okay, and in terms of teachers' knowledge, you're speaking to experienced teachers, so there's no need to micromanage them, okay? Especially the teachers who are helping you to organize the event. There's no need to be condescending or patronizing. Okay, and what's very important about talking to the staff is to realize that you have not only worked with them before, more importantly, you have to continue working with them after the event as well. So you need to be very mindful of your tone, be respectful, be polite, and not to offend anyone. Okay, so the strategy is simply to have a face-to-face briefing during contact time. Okay, face-to-face briefing is important because it's more familiar. It doesn't feel like you're just delegating work to people. Okay, but at the same time, you need to follow up with an email with all the details so that the staff, they will have something to refer to, right, when they need to brief their students or to know what they need to organize for the event itself. Okay, and as I said before, use concise language, adopt a positive tone to remind them that we're here to celebrate our students' achievements. We're not here to organize an event because the principal is making us to do it. Okay, so an example of appropriate language, right? Good morning, colleagues. Thank you for attending this briefing. Okay, remind them that we are celebrating the hard work put in by our students and you as the staff, right? So that they feel that they have a stake in this event as well. Rather than saying, please settle down. Okay, please pay attention because I'm going to give you a briefing now. Right? It's not very courteous to the staff. Okay, or telling them, okay, please be punctual for the event, speaking down to them as if they're students. Do not make sure students do not embarrass themselves in front of guests. Okay, or to micromanage. Okay, Mr. Neo, right? Please make sure that your AV club members put in effort for this video montage, as if it's not something he's already aware of. Okay. Okay, now I'll pass the time back to Zhi Kai to finish up the presentation.
Just do we continue?
It's already 17 minutes, 36 seconds.
So you might as well.
Okay, so let's just move on first. So we will be asking 3 questions to evaluate whether our communication plans are successful. So number 1, whether the geo page or the parents, whether do they seek clarifications with us for the event. Number 2, when we deliver our oral communications, we observe whether the teachers and the students, do they look confused, do they look engaged during the oral communications. And lastly, we have to ask ourselves, were the mediums that we selected for the presentation and correspondence, are they appropriate to us? And lastly, our consolidated reflection, mainly point 2, keep in mind the PAC. Okay, regardless of what we do, always bear in mind what is the purpose of our message, what is our audience, and also the context that we are speaking to. And lastly, various mediums have their own benefits and also their drawbacks. So we have to consider them and use them appropriately to cater to the needs and the requirements that we have to use in our communication with our stakeholders as well. So that will be the end.
Thank
Thank you.